Hey shy people, what is your worst experience? Okay everyone, before we begin, why don't we go around the room and tell us a little about yourselves? Username checks out. Also hate that. Let me be. Sat at the back of the class in Spanish, when the teacher from the front asks a question. Being the little nerd I was in school, my hand shot up. The teacher then looked over, pointed directly at me and said, Señorita, I was a very feminine, underdeveloped, and late through puberty 15-year-old boy with longer than usual hair. I stopped answering any teacher's questions willingly from that point. I was very small for my age and had a similar experience in 5th grade. I liked having long hair and it grew in big golden ringlets that hung down to my shoulders. All the moms thought I was adorable and couldn't keep their hands off. There would always be at least one wanting to touch my hair. They'd run their fingers through it and say, look at those curls. Or look how they shine in the sun, or the girls must be so jealous. And so on. I just wanted to be left alone, but they couldn't help themselves, apparently. It was very annoying. The worst though was the day we had a guest speaker who wanted to interact with the students, so he started off by asking questions. I put my hand up along with some other kids and the man said yes, in the front, the pretty little girl with the yellow curls. Everyone laughed and I had to start my answer with first, I'm a boy. Same here, I have longer hair than all the girls in my class, but I got used to it and my classmates just correct the teacher at this point, so I am very fucking thankful for that. My husband got me to go to a party with him at our friend's house. Got there, friend hugged me hello, and then said wow you smell really good, and then I swear to God everyone got up and went I want to smell, and I was surrounded by people sniffing me seconds after walking into a party. I wanted to die. It wasn't even perfume or anything, it was my hair oil. If I could afford therapy this would definitely come up. I think I died of second-hand embarrassment. Oh my dear sweet lord. All of them actually rolled up on you like a pack of dogs sniffing you up? I would delete myself. Had a high school buddy who was sworn to silence to most people, even teachers, yet a select few kids he'd talk to. Funniest guy I've ever met. Said he has gone full years without saying a word to his own teachers. We had this kid in my high school, too. I had him in a lot of my classes, and no teacher was ever able to get a single word out of him the entire 4 years, including an extremely persistent Cubano-Spanish teacher who made it a life's goal to get this kid to speak. One day in senior year, one of our teachers with a dark sense of humor is digging around and poses a dead baby joke to class. How many dead babies does it take to fill up a bathtub? The silent kid, whom none of us had ever heard utter a damn word for nearly 4 years, answers without pause, 7. We all fucking died. I wouldn't say this is my worst experience, but it is amusing to me. I was setting up a network in a small satellite office and was still working when the last other person left. It was nighttime and they didn't see me or know I was still there, so they turned out all the office lights as they left. Putting a year's worth of confidence into a job interview, just to be the quiet one after you get the job. While going to college I interned for the state's largest business development corporation. In a meeting with C-suite executives, the top dog was just making friendly conversation before we got started and asked me what classes I was taking. To set the picture, I am just the peon note taker and would never expect anyone to even notice that I was there, let alone put me on the spot with a long table of successful professionals staring at me. I blacked out. Zero brain function. I mumbled a few inaudible grunts and ums before having no choice but to admit that I couldn't remember. Went to a party. Guy I've never met walks up to me, shakes my hand, and says hello, what's your name? Where were you born? Where will you die? What's in between? My outgoing mother announcing to everyone how shy I am. Got one better. My outgoing mother announcing to everyone that I must be cold as she dead stares at my chest. She did this during my teenage years. As a shy, anxiety-ridden teenage girl, holy fuck. Edit, thank you to the Redditors that gave awards. It was very kind of you. I am sorry that anyone else had to deal with a mother like mine. Mandatory speech class when I was a freshman in college. I'd do the thing, then go back to my dorm and throw up. Really freaked out my roommate who I barely spoke to. 5 speeches that semester, it was a nightmare. I really fucking hate public speaking with a passion. For my speaking exam in year 10 I was allowed to do it with just the teacher and a couple friends of my choice to be the audience. Then in year 11 we was told they lost our results, so we had to do it again. I cried in class but was too shy to tell anyone why. Had to do it in front of the whole class but was allowed to just stand at my desk. I loathed that class. It's such a bullshit requirement. I always got a little tipsy before a speech. I'd bring a Sprite bottle filled with wine cooler to drink during class before it was my turn. Ugh, we had this for English during secondary school. What was ruined for you because so many people started doing it? There was a weeping willow growing along a creek. Between the tree a low wall and several large rocks it created a tiny little grotto. I would sit there and read or journal or whatever else introverted high school kids do while sitting under a tree. It was my secret special spot. Then one day I saw some beer cans and cigarette butts behind my favorite rock. Then a few months later it was half a dozen empty cans of whipped cream and some graffiti on the rocks. Then a while after that heroin needles and a giant turd. It kinda ruined the serenity of the spot. That's horrible. Ah, my special spot was a maple that hangs over a river that I would lay on. It is at an angle that you can walk on it. It isn't sullied yet, plus the area is littered with blueberries. I did fall off once and took a cold swim. You know, the exact same thing for me pretty much. I lived in a trailer court and it was next some woods. One day I was walking in the woods exploring the woods and I found a location in which you described almost perfectly similarly. I would read manga, GBA, or draw. After a few years the small town I lived in began to grow and more people from a notoriously bad town started coming for jobs and the like. Not much later the willow tree had the majority of its branches pulled out, or there were cigarette butts, bottles, condoms. And maybe a year or so after, someone lit it on fire. Thrift stores. They got trendy, so all of the ones around are higher priced than regular stores. Defeats the purpose. Yard sales and estate sales as well. Shows like American Pickers make everyone think they're selling amazing antiques and collectibles now. Goddamn Macklemore. Same. Our local library has a huge book sale every year. They get thousands and thousands of donations. So many of gems. The past few years I went, it was overcrowded with assholes using those phone UPC scanners so they could resell. Ugh. Good spots and deals still exist, but the problem is, you kinda got to keep it close to the chest when you find one. It also depends what you are looking for and if the people pricing it are on point for that particular item. Examples: I found an all-clad 12 inches pan for $5 when they had a shitty, emerald one right next to it for $15. I also have found vintage camera lenses that were $5 for a semi-rare and $6 for an extremely rare that go for $1.90 plus and $2.50 plus respectively because they weren't priced and the store was too slammed to do research. Right next to them, they had a shitty camcorder from the 90s at $60. It is all luck and knowing what to look for. All of the Goodwill stores in major Pacific Northwestern cities are over the top trendy. Looking through the men's shirt inventory in Portland, or, for example, and realizing that the cheapest on the rack was $25. 00 was a decent shocker. Going up into the mountains, anywhere near Denver is loaded with trash now, toilet paper all over the place, human feces and animal feces everywhere. People are awful. I do take solace in the fact that if there ever were an apocalyptic scenario the woods would kill most of these people rather quickly. Living in the outdoors is nothing like weekend camping. Used to be a swimming hole by where I grew up, Catskills in New York, pretty much only a local thing, only during the summertime. Occasionally you'd get a downstater or someone from CT or New Jersey. It was rarely busy, and most folks just go there to cool down after work or something. Couple of jumps and then you leave type of thing. Then it ended up on some blog site as one of the top 5 swimming holes in America. You now need a permit. It is free from the NIDAC to visit there anytime before 5 p.m. You can't park nearby anymore cause it is so packed. Where there was once a pristine trails and nature is now full of trash. Legit, someone just left a full 30-gallon trash bag on the trail once I saw. There's now a dumpster that no cares to use, porta potties, and loud music constantly even though you'll get a ticket for playing it. Fuck that blog site for that, and fuck you if you are a litterer. I can deal with more people than I'd like, but the litter is what really crushed me about my childhood swim spot. Littering is only slightly easier than not fucking littering. I never get people who litter. I read that blog post and went to one of them. I don't think it was yours though. Instagram destroys a lot of beautiful photography spots. Yeah, it really ruins local beauty spots. Places can go from peaceful secluded areas where someone might be the only person there, to crowded tourist stops without an inch to cram anyone else in. I remember I went to Petra a few years back, absolutely one of the most breathtakingly beautiful places I've ever been to. I did this super long hike that goes up to this monastery with a beautiful view. Unfortunately, there was an Instagram model already up there with a professional photographer taking photos. We were yelled at multiple times for coming too close because we wanted to see this view that we walked 3 hours for. Completely ruined the experience for me and I deleted my Instagram account that day. Edit, wow. 3K upvotes? Thank you all so much. At least something good came out of this. Anytime I see a headline/post like, secluded, isolated, quiet, little known, I cringe. There's a lake in Eastern Europe if I remember correctly that's dangerous for people to go in, but it is okay to take pictures outside of the water, and apparently some models from Instagram went inside the water. This is a while ago, so apologies if my info is wrong. Related, my quiet forest walks are less quiet now. Everyone decided to start hiking there. There was a time where Toy Story characters at Walt Disney World would playfully go limp if you yelled "Andy's coming." Our parents had a nice summer cabin on a peaceful mountain lake. Social media. The early days before family members joined were great. ETSC. It used to be a lot of legit homemade stuff and now it's hard to sort out all the sponsored crap and massive resellers. In high school I wore a leather jacket, not for style or anything, it was just the jacket that I had, and it happened to be leather. Game development. Each time I see one of these crappy mobile game ads, my faith in humanity gets closer to negative numbers. A Song of Ice and Fire, the books that became Game of Thrones. Thrift stores. Like brew, I'm not trying to be trendy, I'm just poor.
Like and subscribe for more Reddit content. Watch the next video at the top of your screen.